I believe that that leads us to a very early presentation from our Region 10 Administrator, Chris Hladick. So I'm going to turn it over early, Chris, and hope that you can enlighten us for a little bit longer than you anticipated. And thank you so much for being here, Chris. I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Before I get started, I want to recognize and thank the Eklutna, Kanek, and Chicaloon tribes for hosting the Conference Operations Center within your homelands, the Alaska Native Heritage Center for providing such a beautiful and culturally rich virtual space for our hosts, and the Regional Tribal Operations Committee, which I co-chair with Raven Paddock III of the Central Council of Tlingit and Haida tribes in Alaska. As an advisory group, the RTOC helps make Region 10's work with tribes more informed, effective, and consistent. And of course, Chairman Paddock, thank you for your leadership during such changing and unprecedented times. I want to recognize the RTOC, conference staff, and volunteers for the incredible amount of work you've put into the format of this conference, from an in-person event to a virtual one. And I know that all of us would rather be in the same room where we can see each other, but this is the best we can do under the circumstances, so much appreciated. We've never had a virtual Tribal Environmental Leaders Summit before, so congratulations on this accomplishment. Thank you, everyone, for making the time to attend, especially in these demanding times. We're all busy, and I know that distance technology can be limited, and limited bandwidth can be real challenges in rural Alaska, which I am intimately familiar with. Also, this is a virtual regional conference. It's hosted from Alaska, which of course is special to me. Having been from Alaska, it was my home for more than 30 years, and I still consider it my home. And I miss being in Alaska very much. Normally, the last week of moose hunting season, I would have been outside of Dillingham moose hunting, and very much disappointed to miss it, but just decided that it's not worth the risk to the community or the risk to me or and everybody involved in the moose hunt to actually go and be there. But there's always another year. I never could have anticipated that my term as a regional administrator would include operations during a pandemic. These are truly historic times. Keeping EPA staff safe while focused on our core mission and responsibilities to protect human health and environment has been a challenge. The past 6 months have not been easy. I know that many tribes have experienced illness and death of loved ones, and my heart goes out to each of you, and I extend my deepest condolences for the losses you may have endured. I know you've all taken extraordinary measures to protect your members and residents. You've set up your own emergency operations centers, closed your offices and businesses, issued stay-at-home orders, delivered food to your elders and community, and the list goes on. Your leadership is an inspiration as a resilience and care you continue to demonstrate. EPA has worked to support tribes during this time to the best of our ability. We've emphasized the need for flexibility in our grant programs and have assisted in addressing the concerns we have heard from tribes about indoor air and, of course, solid waste. I want to thank you for your strong partnership and collaboration as we move together through this complicated time. Now to talk a little bit about wildfire impacts. In addition to the pandemic, our region has been heavily impacted by wildfires and smoke recently, though today we're experiencing heavy rain in Seattle. I'm very thankful to be breathing clean air again. Some tribes in our region were hit hard by the fires and dozens lost their homes. Again, my heart goes out to these families and tribes who have been affected. With the increasing frequency of the fires, preparing for the smoke events is extremely important. I understand that tribal air programs in the Northwest have been actively monitoring air quality, communicating smoke conditions and forecasts in coordination with EPA and our state and local partners, calling burn bans for extra protection during poor air quality episodes, and even getting portable air cleaners out to most vulnerable people in their communities. For those who are less familiar with tools for reducing smoke exposure and protecting tribal health, a good place to start is the Smoke Ready Toolbox for wildfires. And some of these tools are especially useful are the Smoke Sense app, which provides real-time smoke and fire information, and also the Air Now mobile app, an effective tool to track local air quality conditions. Our tribal air lead, Aaron McTeague, also prepared a resource list that is available on the RTOC page. Of course, when the air outside is unhealthy, our indoor air quality becomes even more important. The Tribal Healthy Homes Network, based at the Hladick tribes in Region 10, is a resource for tribal-specific outreach tools and training. They'll be providing a session on ventilation and filtration Friday afternoon, where you can learn more. We consistently hear from tribes that children in their communities are challenged with high rates of asthma, that housing improvements are needed, and that indoor air issues like mold and wood smoke make asthma hard to manage. About 6 years ago, our region pulled together a team to find ways to fund and promote home visiting programs that address indoor air issues. This week, we are pleased to learn that we received $125,000 from headquarters for this project. We will be using the funds to support the pilot programs already underway to identify ways for tribes to start or sustain this work, and to package and share the learnings to help other tribes build programs. We know our changing climate remains a priority for tribes. We have carefully reviewed all of the EPA tribal environmental plans in our region and have found that every tribe identified at least one climate adaptation issue of concerns. Tribes are expressing concern about water quality and quantity, food security and traditional foods, disaster resilience and infrastructure, air quality, wildfires, and ecosystem changes. EPA is focused on developing and identifying resources to help tribes address their climate adaptation priorities. For example, EPA Region 10 is partnering with FEMA and the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco on a pilot program to support climate adaptation and resilience planning for small and medium-sized communities. The Colville and Nooksack tribes in Washington and the Copper River Native Association in Alaska are participating in the pilot. In addition, EPA grant programs, technical assistance, and our national ARC-X website provide resources to address specific tribal priorities. EPA's Vicki Salazar is hosting a session later and will share more details on the tools we are developing. We also want to hear from you how we can better support your efforts. With regard to the Indian General Environmental Assistance Program, here's an update. I'd like to acknowledge the hard work that our tribal partners in Region 10's Tribal Trust and Assistance Branch and Grants section. Their hard work has helped provide certainty that tribal environmental programs are secure and moving forward. It's an impressive accomplishment during these times. We just completed more than 240 GAP grant actions totaling over $31 million for work beginning October 1. Also, the notice of funding availability for fiscal year 2022 will be out in mid-October with GAP applications due in mid-January. We appreciate RTOC spreading the word to Region 10 tribes and consortia. Our training team is planning a webinar to go over the funding announcement. Finishing GAP and PPG awards is always a big lift, even without complicating factors like a global pandemic. Everyone's best efforts help to get this important work completed, and we can't overstate the importance of the work by each tribe's environmental staff that ensured their program's stability and continuation. Another area of programmatic focus for us, if not all Region 10 tribes, is our work on water quality standards. Since the last Tribal Environmental Leaders Summit, Region 10 has approved and continued review on a number of water quality standards packages. I'm happy to say that we recently started a 30-day comment period on the applications from the Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Siuslaw Indians for treatment in a similar manner as a state for water quality standards for waters within the reservation and trust lands. In addition, we're assisting the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs, Shoshone-Bannock tribes, the Quinault, and the Colville tribes with developing or revising their water quality standards. Looking to 2021, Region 10 Water Quality Standards Program will continue to provide technical assistance to update or develop new water quality standards, as well as engage tribes on other water quality standards actions that may be of interest to your governments. We plan to host a series of webinar meetings in 2021 to 2022 on water quality standards, and we'll continue to keep you in the loop. We also know that the proposed Pebble Mine continues to be in the news and of major interest to tribes. I will be on a separate panel discussion on this topic later this morning, so please tune in to that for the latest. Another area of focus for EPA is transboundary mining. We will regularly collaborate with the State Department, other EPA regions and headquarters, international and tribal offices, and other federal agencies in discussions with our Canadian counterparts to address transboundary mining. We are currently focused on the inactive Tulsequah Chief Mine south of Juneau. We submitted comments on the draft remediation plan earlier this year. In Idaho and Montana, we've been working closely with EPA Region 8 on activities focused on coal mining impacts in the Elk Valley of British Columbia, on transboundary Lake Koocanusa and the Kootenai River, including selenium site-specific criteria that would be applied to the lake and Kootenai River in Montana. EPA is beginning government-to-government consultations on the criteria with the Confederated Salish Kootenai Tribe and Kootenai Tribe of Idaho. We recognize and appreciate the important positions of tribes regarding their participation in transboundary project reviews, monitoring, and other activities, particularly as projects can directly impact the tribe's livelihoods. And solid waste remains a priority for tribes. Through the IGAP program, many tribes have turned open dumps into properly managed landfills, advanced recycling programs, and transition from open burning to using burn units or stop burning entirely. For tribes with large waste sites in need of attention, we've helped coordinate federal resources to work towards cleanup. Landfills in remote native villages are unlined and not designed for the disposal of household hazardous waste, and materials like lead acid batteries, electronics, fluorescent lights, etc. To properly dispose of hazardous materials, it's shipped to recyclers or treatment facilities. It's expensive for communities to ship waste, and the logistics are onerous to coordinate. Over the past 2 decades, tribes in Alaska have developed smart approaches for backhauling household hazardous waste. The Solid Waste Alaska Task Force is working to replicate the successful backhaul model statewide. Backhaul Alaska is being tested in 25 Alaskan communities and is scheduled to launch after 2021. It's been a tremendous amount of work to create the Backhaul Alaska program, and EPA wants to make sure that the work tribes and our other partners have put into it sustains through these challenging economic times. Today, I'm pleased to announce the EPA is contributing $3 million in funding to expand the Backhaul Alaska program beyond the pilot phase. These funds will ensure that the program continue to support more tribes in their efforts to backhaul their hazardous waste, and the program continue to grow to serve tribes statewide. The funds will be managed by the Denali Commission, and we'll be sharing information about this funding in the months to come. And in closing, I want to thank all of the tribal governments, tribal representatives, and partners for your continued commitment and partnership in our shared efforts to protect people's health and our environment. We have a lot of work yet to do together. The work that you are all doing to protect and restore the environment is critical to our collective future, and I truly appreciate our government partnerships. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mita.